Howdy y'all, and welcome to Lola'S Critter Farm episode 4. It's been a hot minute. We've had a change of seasons. I got COVID, I ungot COVID, and here we are. If this is your first time here, this is the show where I take my most fun, intrusive thoughts and I squish them all together into a little critter. So we're gonna unleash them upon the world. So the first thing I gotta ask myself is, what have I been thinking about this week? It's summertime in the city, baby, and that means two things. An ungodly amount of PDA all around you all of the time, and the glaring hot sun relentlessly beaming down on me and laughing at my distress. And I could have used any picture of the sun. I could have used, a sort of Hubble telescope situation. I could have also used clip art. I could have used like a drawing of the sun with sunglasses a la preschool. But I chose to use the baby sun from Teletubbies. And that's because the other thing I've been thinking about is the Teletubbies. I love the Teletubbies. I think that they have a perspective on summer that I would like to incorporate into my life. We have arguably similar body types, and I just think they're fun. The other thing I like about the Teletubbies is they are one of my absolute favorite intellectual properties to bootleg. I think there's a lot of fun that can be done with them. And speaking of which, one of my absolute favorite Teletubbies bootlegs is from one of my all-time favorite artists. Their name is Jelly Gummies. They make these incredible bumpy and plasticine and goopy 3D character animations. And they have a fun little Teletubbies bootleg that's called 4 Friends in Their Own Landscape. And last but not least, I've been thinking about this pile of newspaper coupon circulation things that they keep throwing in the foyer of my building. Every week they kind of just pile up, no one takes them, and then eventually someone throws them away. And every time I walk by, I feel bad because I am a raccoon scavenger at heart. And whenever I see trash, I think, hey, I could use that for something. Because, reduce, reuse, recycle. Really annoy your roommates with all of the trash that you pick up off the street and then put in your cabinet full of trash that you say you're going to use for crafts one day. Okay, so with that in mind, we're going to take these into a sketch. We got a big old round belly, that's very important. Throw some limbs on there, little arms, leggies, etc. And then we're going to put one of my absolute favorite features to draw and to just witness, which is awooga eyes. Those are the eyeballs that are sort of jumping out of their sockets because they're so amazed and entranced by what they're seeing. And in the spirit of the romance in the air, we're going to keep to a pretty tight color palette. A lot of the times I like to use every color possible because I have absolutely no restraint. But sometimes it's good to just keep it to a few. And so we're going to do reds, pinks, some purples, that type of thing. And then we have the little TV screen built into the belly with some nice hearts on it. And that's our sketch. So, how are we going to make this bad boy? First things first, ball is life. Before we get into things, we just got to preface that there are 2 ways to make a sculpture. First, you can take a hunk of something and chip away at it until it looks like how you want it to look. This is kind of the SpongeBob method of things. And the other way is you take a bunch of smaller shapes and things and you just slap them together and then eventually you get what you're trying to get. And we're going to do that second method here. So with that second method, we're going to start with our basic shapes, which are going to be these orbs. And the way that I'm going to do that is we're going to be doing paper mache, hence the trash that I picked up from my building. So paper mache, according to me, I guess, is just glue and water. You mix it around there and then you dip the paper in there and put it around a sort of former, and then that's going to create our shape. So I'm going to use 2 balls from my dog's basket of toys. I did prep them by wrapping them in some saran wrap, so there was sort of a layer between the ball and all of the glue because I don't want my dog licking glue, even though he does look like a dog that sits in the back of the classroom and licks glue. So then it's just sort of this process of layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers, building them up. And then we wait for it to dry. And once they're dry, I can cut them off of the formers. And from there, we got a head, which is a smaller ball, and we got a body, a belly, which is a bigger ball. And so we got to sort of lump these on top of each other in a way that makes sense. And so basically what I did here is I put some wire, created a sort of basic neck shape. And then I also put these little wooden sticks, and that was me just kind of like, freestyling it. And then we get this cool shape. And it actually can stand on its own, which is pretty insane because I did not factor any real engineering into it. All right, step 2, ballin' out money style. This is where we really get into the sort of Project Runway unconventional challenges of it all. The structure I created before can stand now, but as soon as I add anything onto it, it will topple over. So I need to put some weight into that booty, if you know what I mean. So first I start with these little leg thigh pieces, and I just create a little pattern. It's got these little tabs that I'm gonna fold over so it's 3D, and then we're gonna take some random change that I've been collecting and will never use, taking these pennies and just creating a stack, and then I'm gonna glue them to the inside of the thigh pieces, and that's gonna just make sure that everything's bottom heavy. Look, I'm not saying that I'm bursting with ingenuity, but I'm not. Then we're gonna glue that onto the side of the body structure. We're really going ham on the hot glue today. I put a lot of extra glue sort of on the seal to create kind of a seam between the two parts. Then I'm gonna create the actual legs. So these also need to be weighted. So basically I'm gonna create the legs with a couple sticks that I taped together. These are the sort of leg bones. And then we're gonna put another coin stack on the ends so that there's leverage. So then once the legs are glued on, I'm gonna build up more of the meat of the body. And I'm basically gonna do this by just taking random tissue paper and stuff that I have lying around and filling things out. If there's anything I know, it's that you can do almost anything with paper and masking tape, trust me. Step 3, awooga. So we have a bunch of little details we gotta get into here. We got eyes, ears, mouth, tail, arms, spikes. Those are the sort of last limbs and things that we have to add. For the eyes and mouth, I'm gonna do a classic cut a paper into a taper, roll it around, and you got this cool sort of tapered tube situation. Throw a stick in there, and that's gonna be the thing that we can kind of poke into the body. All right, so that's the eyes and mouth. The arms, we're gonna go back to my good friend, these little sticks. We're gonna chop them, we're gonna bend them, and we're gonna tape them together, and those are what elbows are. To make the tail, I want it to be flexible so that it's not just kind of sticking out straight. I want it to be able to, be posable. So I'm gonna take 2 layers of Bristol that I've cut out into the little zigzag shape. Then I'm gonna have a wire that can run in between them so that I can kind of fold it to the side in whatever way looks good. Glue it, we love glue. And then while that dries, I'm gonna weight it down with a big old coffee table book. Shout out to my boy, Hieronymus Bosch. Then we're just gonna repeat with the zigzag ears. We don't really need to put a wire in these because they don't need to bend. And then the spikes on the back are just gonna be folded over pieces of Bristol that I glue, and then, pretty simple. All right, now that we got those little guys, we do have to put everything in the body. So I kind of just cut out these little holes, and then I just shove the little sticks in, and we glue them. We glue them so they can't go anywhere. And that's it. Those are all of the details. And last but not least, we have the tummy screen hole. And now he's a hollow boy.
Hell yeah!
All right, step 4. Here's a little painting montage for y'all. I did do some Mod Podge to just seal down any loose paper that was sticking up. All right, step 5. The devil is in the details, part 2. All right, so we have to make the screen. The way that I did this, it may look like I am painting on white paper, but I'm not. I am painting on a sheet of acetate because I need there to be some transparency. You'll see why later. So basically, I'm gonna paint one sheet of acetate with this sort of thinned down glossy red. And then on the other piece of acetate, gray black wash situation, I'm gonna put these sort of black dots with the back of my paintbrush, and that's gonna give TV, pixel, static type, whatever you wanna call it. I did want to put the acetate on the inside, but that was not going to work because that was way too stiff and weird. I ended up having to glue it over top of everything, and then I took some more Bristol and I kind of just made a little frame around the TV. I want it to look playfully sloppy. I don't want it to look like just any child made it. I want it to look like a child with a Bachelor of Arts made it. And that's me, baby. We did it. All right, so what did we learn today? Number 1, ball is life. Number 2, trash can make great art. And number 3, if something lights up, that means it's functional and it does belong in the house. So if we mix those 3 things together, what do we get? All right, so as you can see, she has a very distinct look. I would say that she's lumpy, she's bumpy, and she's thriving. And don't forget that. You know, she's really giving a sort of combo between Peppa Pig and that penguin Pingu that goes newt newt. So we're going to keep it nice and simple and just give her a hybrid of that name so that her name is going to be Pinga. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Pinga to the farm. And that's it for today. We will see you next time, hopefully sooner rather than later. And I hope y'all have a yeehaw day.